Hey guys, tonight we step back into a world of muddy boots, open sewers, and food that crunches when it really shouldn't. Picture a medieval street market muddy underfoot, buzzing with flies, and thick with the smell of spiced wine and wet dogs. You pass a row of stalls where pigs' feet hang like decorations, and a woman sells soup so salty it could pickle your teeth. The air is dense with smoke from open braziers and the tang of vinegar and onion. Nothing looks refrigerated because, of course, nothing is. And as your stomach rumbles, you realize you're about to eat here. You probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're feeling talkative, post your location and what time it is where you are right now. I read every single one. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You shuffle forward over slippery cobblestones. Horse manure cakes your shoes, and there's an onion peel sticking to your ankle. The town square opens ahead like a crowded lung pulsing with bartering voices, cawing birds, and the squeak of wooden wheels. Market day has begun. You pass a butcher's stall. A cleaver slams into a cutting board. Chunks of bone fly. The meat is gray in patches but still up for sale. A boy fans flies off with a bundle of feathers tied to a stick. Somewhere nearby, a dog starts barking at nothing in particular. You smell awful dried blood and a distant hint of lavender, probably from the soap maker's booth next to the tanner, who reeks of ammonia and hides. To your left, a tall man in a patched cloak roasts onions and cheese over coals. A sheet of iron black with soot supports a pile of misshapen rolls stuffed with fatty meat and wild mustard. No gloves, no apron, no problem. He wipes his nose, then flips a roll. No one notices. Just ahead, smoke curls from a brazier under a small canopy. It smells sweet sugar and oil. You find a woman pouring what looks like batter onto a flat griddle. She uses her fingers to flip the cakes, each no bigger than your palm. She adds dried berries, some shriveled, others oddly shiny. You recognize no fruit by name. They sizzle as the dough browns. She sprinkles ash-dusted honey powder on top, straight from a small cloth pouch. A small bell rings. The fishmonger has arrived. His cart creaks as it pulls up beside a fountain. Salted herring and dried sprats hang from a wooden rack. Flies beat their wings against the fish scales. A cat leaps up, is swatted down, and lands gracefully. You hear the word fresh used with shocking optimism. The air thickens near the dairy stalls. A girl with a cracked pitcher pours thick milk into a wooden bowl. It has begun to separate. The smell punches your sinuses. Someone buys it anyway. The curds are used in cheese. The whey gets mixed into soup or bread. A whistle. You turn. A pair of boys have climbed onto the low edge of a stone gutter. They drop round cakes into a deep pot of boiling grease. The cakes puff and float. A nearby man sells boiled eggs blackened from ash dust. They're sliced in half and sprinkled with salt, if salt is available that day. You're told the eggs are extra nourishing. You take their word for it. As you weave through the crowd, a woman selling roots holds up a crooked finger and yells something about the softness of her parsnips. You nod. She hands you one. It's warm. She'd been sitting on it for the last hour. Somewhere near the edge of the square, a juggler distracts a group of children. Behind him, An old man hawks small pies from a tray suspended by twine over his shoulders. You see steam rising from the cracked crust of one. You take it. It burns your fingers. Inside, some sort of mincemeat, sour, spicy sweet. You taste cloves and possibly raisins. You hope it's not pigeon. It might be pigeon. Historians still argue whether those small pies were considered luxury food for the average peasant or merely a street stall staple for those with a few pence. The ingredients, mace, nutmeg, pepper, were expensive. But the meat inside was often spoiled. Spices weren't for taste. They were for hiding decay. You pass a basket of apples. Half have bruises. One has a worm crawling out. The seller smiles and offers you a sample. It tastes like wine. Not the good kind. There's a booth covered with linen. A woman stirs something in a pot with a bone spoon. The pot is stained black, probably never washed. You peer inside. Some kind of porridge, grainy gray, gelatinous. You ask what it is. She says, gruel. You ask what's in it. She says mostly hope. Someone sells roasted chickpeas down the way. They clatter in small clay cups. You try one. It's hot, dry, and chalky. You chew slowly. The taste lingers, not in a good way. You catch the scent of rosemary and follow it. It leads to a stand selling herb bundles dried and hanging upside down. Rosemary, thyme sage, and wormwood. A man nearby sells flatbreads baked with onion and garlic. His hands are black at the fingertips. He slaps a hot piece into your palm. It burns, but you eat it anyway. The crust is smoky and chewy. It tastes good until the middle where something metallic tinges the bite. You stop under a wooden awning. The stall offers flavored syrups diluted with water and served in thin wooden cups. One tastes like sour cherry, another like fennel. The vendor claims one cures headaches, one makes you fertile, and one drives out bad humors. He can't remember which is which. Behind the syrup cart, a boy sells honeycombs. They look fresh but crawl with bees. He swats a few away and breaks off a piece. The wax sticks to your teeth. The honey is thick and bitter, darker than molasses. You like it until you find a small dead beetle trapped in the cell. You spit it into a ditch. As the sun climbs, the smell of urine warms with the stones. Someone throws out a bucket of slop into the street. It splashes your boot. You don't react. No one does. You pass a stall offering nothing but snails. They're piled high, dusted with something brown. Boiled in vinegar, supposedly. A man beside you pops one into his mouth. He chews twice and swallows. His teeth are stained gray. You pass a dog gnawing a chicken leg. You're pretty sure it didn't pay for it. At the far end of the square, under a cracked archway, someone is selling ice. Yes, ice in summer. Shaved from winter blocks preserved underground wrapped in straw. He adds syrup to it. It melts before you finish the first bite. You sit on a barrel. Your stomach turns, not sure if it's hunger or warning. A man walks past with a cage full of lizards. He says they're for eating. You pretend not to hear. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand. The taste of onion and vinegar still clings to your tongue. Behind you the market roars on. Ahead another alley pulls you in. Narrow damp lined with slanted wooden doors and smoke-blackened windows. Your feet slide slightly over the oily stone. There, under a sagging cloth awning, a brewer stirs a cauldron. It bubbles softly. A sour, earthy smell rises. The brewer is barefoot. His toenails are gray. His beard hangs into the steam. He coughs once and spits into the mud. Nobody flinches. This is ale. Specifically small ale, weak cloudy and served warm. It's safer than water. Water runs from streams often downstream from livestock pens or leaky privies. Boiling kills some of the danger. Fermentation takes care of more. Everyone drinks ale, even toddlers. You take a sip. It tastes like hay and pennies. Beside the ale pot, trenchers sit stacked, hardened slabs of bread round flat heavy. Yesterday's, maybe the day before, baked from barley rye or whatever grain was cheapest that week. They're too tough to eat raw. Instead, they serve as edible plates. Stew gets ladled on top. Afterward, the soaked trenchers are given to beggars' dogs, or eaten by those who don't ask too many questions. You pick one up. It's cracked down the middle. You knock it against the wall. It doesn't break. You dunk it in the ale. It softens slowly. The edge starts to crumble. You bite. The taste is bland, dusty. Your jaw works like a crank, one chew at a time. Next to the stack, a boy sells bowls of pottage, a thick brownish mush made from peas, onions, and root vegetables. It's been boiling for hours, maybe days. Some say pottage pots were never fully emptied, just topped off. The flavor builds, or accumulates. Depends on your perspective. You ladle some onto your trencher. It slides slowly like lava. The scent is peppery, but not from actual pepper. True peppercorns were imported from India and cost a fortune. This is probably a mix of ground mustard seed, parsley root, and ash. It stings your nose anyway. A crusty-looking man walks by holding what appears to be a barley roll stuffed with fried leeks. Steam seeps from its seam. He bites in. The sound is audible. A satisfying crackle. He chews, nods, swallows, then sneezes twice. To your right, a woman sells oatcakes. Thin, round, dry as chalk. She bakes them on a slate slab over hot stones. Her hands move without pause, slap, press, flip. She stores them in a cloth sack. You ask for one. She gives you two. Old batch, she says. Yesterday's breakfast. You chew slowly. The oatcake shatters between your teeth, then sticks to your molars like old glue. No butter, no sugar. Just grain and heat. You chase it with another sip of ale. The taste still doesn't improve. A bell rings. Somewhere the hour changes. The brewer doesn't look up. He stirs again. The ale thickens with barley husks and yeast clumps. A cloud of steam rises, then settles again like fog. Behind the brewery tent, another vendor scoops barley into cones made from bark. They sell for 1 coin. Children grab them, crunching the raw grains like popcorn. You try one. It breaks a molar. You hand the rest to a passing goat. A monk shuffles past in robes stained with kitchen grease. He carries a basket of something wrapped in cloth. A child peeks inside. The monk snaps the lid shut. Religious orders brewed beer, baked bread, and hoarded recipes. Some sold their leftovers, others bartered for them. This monk's nose twitches as he passes the brewer. You think he's judging. Historians still argue whether medieval monasteries maintained higher food safety standards than public markets, or simply recorded their failures less often. Some say monks lived longer because they ate better. Others say it was because they didn't have children screaming in their faces every morning. You step away from the brewer's tent. Your boots squelch. The alley narrows. Someone has dumped grease down the stones. It smells like boiled feet. You slip once. Regain balance. A rat runs across your path and disappears into a crack in the wall. A girl stands nearby selling roasted beans. Her fire crackles under a shallow pan. The beans pop like corn, turning from pale to brown. She stirs with a stick. Her apron is singed. She offers you a taste. You pinch two. They're hot, bitter, burnt on one side. You nod politely. She smiles. Across from her, an old man hawks dried bread knots, twisted, salted, shaped like ropes. They're hard as bricks. You ask if they're fresh. He grins. Baked Tuesday, he says. You ask what day it is. He shrugs. You buy one anyway. Your teeth regret it instantly. The sun peeks through a crack in the clouds. Light bounces off the damp walls, making the alley shimmer like it's wet with oil. A woman dumps a bucket of water from a second-story window. It hits the stones with a slap, misses you by inches. She doesn't apologize. Nearby, a basket of dried berries sits unattended. They look like currants or maybe shriveled grapes. A boy walks past and tosses a handful into his mouth. He chews slowly, then spits. A stone rolls across the ground. Possibly not a fruit after all. You duck into a low-ceilinged side stall. Inside, an old couple bakes barley bread in a clay oven. The smell is dense, warm yeast and cracked grain. The man uses a paddle to slide out round loaves. The woman brushes off ash and sprinkles salt. She cuts one open. The crumb is dense and pale. You see flecks of chaff and unground hulls. She hands you a slice. No butter, no jam, just warm bread. You take a bite. It's coarse, slightly bitter. Your gums ache, but it's filling. You thank her with a nod. She grunts in response. Just outside, someone is selling turnip mash, served cold, in a shell, a literal shell like a scooped-out gourd. It jiggles slightly in your hand. You sniff, earthy. You taste. It clings to your tongue. You swallow, slowly. Next to that, a merchant sells small clay jars of barley paste, fermented for weeks. Tastes like sour glue. Spread on dry bread, it passes for lunch. A vendor in patched gloves passes out samples of boiled spelt. It's chewy, resilient, bounces back when pressed. You chew, and chew, and chew. Then swallow. It takes effort. A baker nearby sells sweet rolls made from honeyed oats and wild mint. They're rare, expensive. You don't ask how much. You just look. He glares anyway. Another man peddles old crusts soaked in vinegar, called sops, served from a bucket. He offers one to a dog. The dog declines. A bell tolls again. The hour changes. No one looks up. You rest against a barrel full from chewing, not eating. You look back down the alley. Smoke still curls above the brewer's tent. The ale continues to bubble. Trenchers stack higher. The girl with oatcakes has vanished. Your breath slows. Your stomach growls. You're not sure if it's hunger or something else. You're still not full, but you're definitely tired. You follow a trail of sticky footprints across the stones. The soles of your shoes pull slightly as if the ground itself wants to keep you there. Sweet smells cling to the air over ripe fruit, stale sugar, and something vaguely burnt. You round a corner and find yourself staring at a table draped with linen so stained it tells a history of its own. On the table, fig cakes, honey rolls, and slabs of dried fruit paste arranged in crooked stacks. Flies hover, land take off, then return. You wave your hand. They don't care. The woman running the stall has a missing front tooth and fingernails the color of soot. She picks at a slab of something sticky and holds it toward you. Apricot and beet, she says. You take it. The texture is dense, chewy. The flavor is surprisingly bright, tart, sweet, earthy. Your teeth stick together. She points to a tray. Dried cherries, crushed bugs, sugar bark. You blink. Bugs. She nods. For color. You want pink, you grind beetles. You want shine, you cook them down. You choose the pink one. A thin layer of candied paste coats a small disk of bread. The color is vivid, almost too vivid. You bite. It tastes like jam and chalk. The chew lingers. So does the aftertaste. You keep chewing. Next to the trays, a jar of preserved pears floats in syrup as thick as mud. The lid is cracked. A spoon stands upright in the liquid. You try one. The pear is translucent. It melts on your tongue but leaves a metallic tinge. You set the spoon down slowly. A boy rushes past carrying a tray of what look like flat biscuits covered in crushed seeds and brown specks. One drops to the street. You pick it up. The surface is slick with oil. You hesitate, then bite. The seeds crunch, then something else crunches. Too many legs. You stop chewing. You look at the vendor. He shrugs. Locust biscuit, he says. Good for winter. He offers another. You decline. He nods. Your loss. Historians still argue whether insect-based snacks were a necessity, a delicacy, or simply desperation, dressed in batter. Some accounts praise them as crunchy protein. Others record them as punishment rations. Either way, they were eaten willingly or not. A girl with straw-colored hair stands behind a smaller booth. She stirs a pot filled with what looks like dried plums, nuts, and shredded mint leaves. The mixture is thick, almost tar-like. She smears some onto a flat board and lets it cool. Then she slices it into squares. You buy one. It sticks to your fingers. You taste it. It's sweet. Also spicy. Your tongue tingles. It's not bad. On a table nearby, there's something labeled candied rose root. You touch it. It's sticky floral and smells like someone's idea of perfume. The taste is mild, mostly sugar. A pleasant distraction. A bowl of jellied apples gleams beside it, each one encased in a hard shell of boiled syrup and dusted with ash. A man takes one, cracks it against the table, and eats it in 2 bites. You do the same. It cuts your lip. You keep eating. Not far off, a woman sells roasted chestnuts glazed in honey and rolled in something powdery, possibly bone ash or crushed chalk. You pop one into your mouth. The outside is sweet, the inside is dry. You chew. Then sip a bit of warm beer to wash it down. The alley darkens as a cloud passes overhead. A dog barks at something invisible. A cart squeaks slowly behind you, piled high with dried fruit rolls, nuts, and seed cakes. You pass another stall. Here, honeyed crickets are skewered on thin wooden sticks. They shimmer slightly in the light. You count 6 legs on each. The vendor grins. "Snack of the fair," he says. You don't ask which fair. Next to him, someone displays a row of brittle sugar cones. Browned from overcooking, some are cracked, others chipped. The flavor, mostly molasses with hints of what might be licorice, or possibly dirt. Behind the stall, a crate of candied violets rests beside a plate of tiny cookies shaped like leaves. Each one is pressed with actual herbs. Some are edible, some are not. You try one. It tastes like soap. You try another. It tastes like time. The third tastes like regret. A group of children nearby chew on sugar canes, not the polished kind you see today. These are rough, fibrous stalks that require biting, pulling, and gnawing. Their teeth are black in places. Their fingers sticky. You step around them and approach a copper pot resting on hot stones. A man in a wool cap stirs it slowly. The smell is smoky and caramelized. He pulls out a stick, dips it into the pot, and lets the mixture harden. A medieval lollipop. You lick it once. It's hot. Too hot. Then sweet. Then gone. A woman in layers of linen offers you a slice of her personal treat, a round, flat cake made from barley flour, dried raisins, and crushed walnuts. It's crumbly and smells faintly of something floral. She calls it feast bread. You take a bite. It's dry but flavorful. You nod. She smiles. Next to her, a barrel of fermented berry juice gurgles. Someone ladles it out into wooden cups. The color is deep purple. The taste, sharp, fizzy, faintly vinegary. Children drink it. So do the elderly. No one questions the bubbles. At the edge of the row, someone sells dried flower petals coated in honey. They call them sleep wafers. You chew one. It sticks to your teeth and gums. The flavor is almost non-existent. The texture is paper dipped in sugar. Across the path, another table displays candied beans. You try one. Crunchy, then chewy, then bitter. You're not sure what you just ate, but your mouth feels strange now. You step back into the flow of foot traffic. A woman walks past holding a basket of lemon peels boiled in syrup. They shimmer like jewels. You ask for one. She gives you 2. They're chewy and bitter, but you like them anyway. Ahead, someone sets out a tray of fried herbs, sage, rosemary, and mint leaves, each coated in batter and dunked in boiling oil. You try one. It crumbles in your mouth, a faint echo of flavor wrapped in grease. A man at the far end of the lane offers a small brown square labeled nut paste. You taste it. It's dense, earthy, sticky. You find yourself chewing for far longer than expected. Above you, someone leans out a window and dumps a bowl of something into the gutter. It splashes against the wall. You hear a rat squeal. Then silence. You keep walking. The air thickens with the scent of old sugar, overripe fruit, and roasting spice. Somewhere nearby, someone is laughing. Someone else is coughing. A bell tolls in the distance. A donkey brays. A child cries. You step over a cracked biscuit on the ground. It crunches underfoot. The sweet taste fades from your mouth, replaced by ash and stale air. You don't know if you're hungry again, or just curious. One thing is clear. You haven't eaten the worst of it yet. The alley opens into a wider space, a triangle of trodden earth where the stone gives way to packed dirt. You step around a puddle reflecting a crooked roof line and something that might be a dead pigeon. The smell here is new, thick, rooty, a mix of burnt starch and boiled skin. You drift toward it like a fly pulled by steam. In the center of the triangle stands a wooden cart. The wheels are stained black from grease and soot. A man in a leather apron shovels turnips onto a flat iron plate heated by coals. They hiss, they steam, they blacken. He moves slowly, carefully. With a long-handled spoon, he presses the turnips down one by one. Some are charred. Some are soft. None are peeled. A group of peasants forms a loose half-circle around the cart. They murmur softly, shuffle forward. Each carries a scrap of wood pottery or folded cloth currency for food when coins run short. The man accepts each without a word and scoops a ladleful of turnip onto a scrap of slate or into a dirty hand. You move closer. The smell sharpens, sweet, sour, slightly sulphurous. Someone behind you sneezes. You point to a blackened lump on the edge of the cart. The man looks up. One eye droops. He nods once, then slides the lump onto a curved bark dish. You take it. It's hot. Too hot. You hold it by the edges and wait. Steam rises. The top is crispy. The underside is mush. You bite. It tastes like dirt, and smoke, and something faintly metallic, but also like food, real food, cooked, not rotting, burnt, not spoiled. You chew slowly. You finish it. You hand the dish back. The man wipes it with a rag darker than night. To your left, a woman with twin braids holds up a skewer of something pale and rubbery. It jiggles. She bites, chews, swallows. You ask what it is. She shrugs. Parsnip? Maybe. You look at another cart. This one carries mashed pounded roots blended with old cheese, peppery herbs, and vinegar. It's thick, lumpy, served cold. You get a scoop in a bowl made from a horn. It smells like old socks and wet stone. The first bite is sharp. The second, less so. You finish it because someone is watching you. They nod approvingly. A bell rings. Not a church bell. A handbell. From across the square, another vendor announces a new batch of roasted bulbs. You wander toward the sound. The vendor is tall. His teeth are perfect. Suspiciously so. He slices open a steaming turnip, scoops out the inside, and fills it with goat cheese and powdered thyme. He calls it market porridge. You call it hot. You blow on it. Bite. Chew. The goat cheese is sharp. The thyme lingers. The turnip is soft, almost creamy. You take another bite. It's better than you expected. You eat it all. Near the back of the triangle, a boy sells peeled roots wrapped in cabbage leaves. Cold, wet, doused in vinegar. He says they're refreshing. You try one. It tastes like rain and regret. A girl follows behind with pickled garlic cloves on sticks. She offers one for a button. You give her a coin. She smiles, hands you two. You eat them. Your mouth is now a weapon. Historians still argue whether root vegetables were truly the backbone of the peasant diet, or simply a seasonal necessity. Turnips, parsnips, rutabagas, all easy to grow, hard to ruin, and impossible to love. But they filled stomachs, especially when bread failed. Near the edge of the triangle, someone is selling fried roots. Thin strips dipped in oil, crisped until golden. You try a handful. They crackle in your mouth. Salt clings to your fingertips. For a moment, you forget where you are. Then you notice a rat nibbling one of the dropped slices. The illusion breaks. You move on. Next to a stone well, a man boils soup in a dented copper pot. He adds chopped roots, sour milk, and something green and stringy. The pot smells of iron. Pot smells of... He stirs with a stick. A dog waits nearby, hopeful. He offers a sip. You slurp from a wooden spoon. It's warm. Acidic. You hand the spoon back. He dunks it again. No one minds. Across from him, a girl grills sliced beets on hot stones. She flips them with her fingers. Her palms are red. She doesn't flinch. You try one. It's sweet, earthy, smoky, better than the rest. Behind her, someone crushes boiled roots into small cakes and fries them in pork fat. The cakes hiss on a pan. You eat one. It's crunchy outside, soft inside, and completely bland. You add salt. It improves nothing. A cart covered in linen sheets offers mashed celeriac molded into spheres, rolled in ash, cooled on slate. You bite. It sticks to your teeth like clay. You swallow hard. A group of children toss turnips in a circle. One drops. They laugh. A goat eats it. The game resumes. You lean against a wall. Your stomach is full but not satisfied. Everything tastes the same, like earth and time and not enough fire. A man with a barrel offers turnip wine. You ask if it's real. He says it's wet. You try it. He's not wrong. You sit on a low stone bench. Someone hands you a turnip wrapped in cabbage. No one asks for payment. You chew. You stare at the sky. A cloud drifts. A bell rings. A dog barks. Your jaw moves slowly. This is food, sort of. You close your eyes. You keep chewing. A cool breeze moves through the alleys, tugging the smoke and ash in slow, spiraling loops. You stand now near a stall that smells distinctly of brine. The sharp, oily scent of preserved fish mingles with the warmth of freshly baked dough. You breathe through your mouth. It barely helps. This is the fish row, a stretch of leaning stalls and grimy carts where vendors peddle seafood fresh, smoked, pickled, or left long enough to earn other names. You step forward, careful not to trip over discarded fish heads. At one table, a thick woman in a stained smock slices into a large fish pie. The crust flakes off like dust. A warm, grayish steam rises. The smell punches through the air, salt old onions, and decay covered in cloves. She cuts the pie with a knife notched from use. The filling oozes. You watch. No one flinches. People buy slices. You join the line. She hands you a piece on a slab of bark. The crust is chewy, not crisp. The filling white fish, probably herring, swims in a puddle of spiced gravy. You chew. Slowly. The texture is strange, gelatinous. The taste is deeply salted and oddly sweet. There are bones. You find them with your tongue. You keep chewing. Behind her, a rack of dried eels swings gently in the wind. They are tied together with twine, their skins shriveled and dark. One vendor sprinkles water on them to soften their leather-like surface. Another saws through a large one with a jagged blade. You ask to try. He nods, gives you a slice. The texture is rubber. The taste pure brine. You bite through it like rope. Farther down, someone sells fried smelt. The fish are whole eyes, fins, bones. You pop one into your mouth. Crunch, swallow. Your tongue scrapes against tiny bones. To your right, a barrel sits half buried in the ground. The lid opens with a squelch. Inside, preserved anchovies in oil. A boy uses a ladle to scoop some onto a piece of bread. The oil drips down his fingers. He licks it off. You do not ask for a sample. A tall man stands next to a brazier turning skewers of grilled shellfish. He dips them in vinegar, then roasts them again. The shells pop. The meat hisses. You try one. It tastes of smoke and rust. You chew until it gives up. Historians still argue whether these kinds of seafood anchovies, eels, smelt were considered peasant fare or prized delicacies. In port cities, they were everywhere. Inland, they cost dearly. Salt preserved them. Spice masked the rest. At another cart, a girl offers you a bowl of something called fish pudding. You ask what's in it. She shrugs. Bits, she says. You taste it. It's soft white warm, somewhere between porridge and regret. A man nearby sells fermented fish sauce. Thick, black, sharp enough to sting your eyes. He pours it over boiled turnips and barley cakes. The smell is unbearable. He calls it relish. You don't argue. At a low table, 3 boys shell river mussels with rocks. The meat is small, pale. They drop it into bowls with cold broth. You try a spoonful. It slips down without resistance. No flavor, just texture. Someone behind you drops a sack. It splits. Fish spill out. Slippery, glistening. A dog grabs one and runs. A vendor curses. No one gives chase. You pass a stall with smoked trout. Dark skin, curled fins, hollow eyes. The vendor slices thin strips and hands you one. It tastes like campfire and lake water. You chew. The skin sticks between your teeth. Beside him, someone sells fish cakes fried in lard. You try one. Crispy on the outside, mushy in the middle. You recognize the same clove-heavy taste from the fish pie. It numbs your tongue. Farther along, a woman sells bowls of fish broth. You drink. It's hot, salty. A floating scale sticks to your lip. You wipe it away. Keep drinking. You stop near a stand with fish wrapped in dough and roasted in ash. The vendor peels back the crust, revealing meat steamed inside its own skin. You take a bite. It's better than expected. Moist, barely seasoned, still warm. Near the end of the row, a man sells sea pies, layers of fish, onion, dried fruit, and eggs under a thick lid of barley crust. You buy one. Bite in. Sweet. Savory. Confusing. Next to him, someone grills fish heads. Just the heads. You try one. The cheeks are soft. The eyes are not. You eat them anyway. A child offers you a slice of pickled herring bread, fish mashed into dough before baking. It smells like vinegar and ash. You chew. Swallow. The taste stays with you. A merchant with gold rings sells candied fish skin, boiled in syrup and left to dry. You suck on a piece. It sticks to your teeth and tastes like sugar-dipped seaweed. Nearby, someone drops a bowl. It shatters. Bits of fish scatter across the ground. A chicken pecks at it. The vendor shrugs, keeps serving. You lean against a post. Your stomach protests. You sip some beer. It helps. A little. The sun slips lower. Shadows stretch. The air cools slightly. You wipe your mouth. Your hands shine with oil. You look back at the row. Smoked, fried, pickled, fermented. Fish in every form. Still not sure which was worst. But the pie still sits in your stomach. Heavy, greasy, lingering. You take another sip. You keep walking. You follow a narrow lane that winds behind the fish stalls, ducking under a sagging awning draped with mildew-dark cloth. The street tilts gently downhill, funneling footsteps toward a cluster of carts huddled around a barrel fire. Here, the air changes less fish, more spice, and rot. A man coughs. Another spits. A dog sleeps under a table twitching. You move closer. A dented tin mug is pressed into your hand without warning. The vendor nods once and moves on. You look down. Steam curls from the surface of a dark red liquid. You raise it to your nose. Spiced wine, or what passes for it. Warm, fragrant, somewhere between cider and medicine. You sip. It bites, then soothes. You taste clove cinnamon and dried fruit, a sweetness laced with something gritty, maybe the bottom of the barrel. Beside you, a stall offers bowls of nuts. Walnuts, hazelnuts, almonds. All cracked and dry. You pinch a few. Some crumble, some resist. You taste one. It's sour. Mold creeps around the edge of the shell. You spit it out quietly. The vendor sees you. Offers a wink. A bit old, he says. Still crunches. You nod. You don't take more. A younger girl sits on a wooden stool beside a tray of roasted nuts coated in honey and crushed pepper. You try one. The coating hides the flavor, but the texture still tells the truth. Historians still argue whether such nuts were imported luxuries or seasonal harvests kept far too long. Some writings praise the almond rains of festival days. Others describe barrels of spoiled nuts fed to pigs. Both might be true. A boy walks by gnawing on a twist of dried fruit leather rolled around whole nuts. You try one. The outer layer sticks to your lips. The nut inside cracks with effort. It tastes like age and ambition. To your left, a jar of pickled almonds floats in brine. You try one. It's soft. Too soft. You swallow anyway. The aftertaste feels warm, not in a good way. Near the center fire, a squat woman in layers of wool boils dried plums in wine. She stirs with a thick stick, humming softly. She adds herbs, then honey. She ladles the mixture into small bowls lined with cracked glaze. You drink. It coats your throat. Sweet, sticky, then sharp. The kind of drink that announces itself. You find a bench near a cracked wall and sit. Across from you, a man shaves strips of old cheese into his mulled wine. He stirs, sips, then slurps loudly. He doesn't offer any. You sip again. The wine dulls the edge of your tongue. The nuts sit in your gut like stones. A stall farther down offers candied roots rolled in crushed nuts. You try one. The texture is stringy, the flavor earthy, nutty, faintly sweet. The woman selling them tells you the roots grow near graveyards. You stop chewing. She laughs. Makes them richer, she says. You chew again. A man passes carrying a wooden board covered in fig slices dusted with ground almond and pine ash. You ask for one. He hands you two. The first is dry. The second oozes slightly. You eat both. Across from you, a vendor pours wine from a ceramic jug. The liquid sputters. It smells old. You taste. It burns. Another offers a tray of raisins soaked in vinegar. He calls them sweet bombs. You pop one into your mouth. It puckers your cheeks. You blink. He smiles. A pot nearby holds whole walnuts boiled in syrup until soft. You try one. It tastes like wet wood. You don't finish it. Someone offers dried apple slices with crushed hazelnut topping. You take one. Chew. It's better. Not good. Just better. A wooden bowl passes your way filled with wine-drenched breadcrumbs and shaved nutmeg. It's warm, comforting, then gritty. You stop halfway through. A child offers you a skewer of candied nuts roasted in butter and dipped in lye. You ask what the lye does. She says makes 'em shiny. You bite. She's not wrong. You walk on mug in hand. You pass a man with cracked lips selling nut butter spread on oatcakes. The butter smells faintly rancid. You try it anyway. You shouldn't have. A tall woman offers cups of sweet wine thickened with barley flour and dusted with shaved almonds. The drink sticks to the side of your mouth. She calls it nourishment. You call it glue. The fire crackles behind you. The air smells of scorched bark, boiled vinegar, and something approaching winter. A goat bleats. A crow lands on a roof. The wind shifts again. You pass a stall where a man has carved faces into nuts. He sells them as charms. You don't buy one, but you stare. The expressions look just like yours, tired, grimacing, slightly bloated. You drink the last of your wine. It's cold now, still sweet, still sharp. The cup clinks as you set it down on a barrel. The nut stalls fade behind you. Your fingers are sticky. Your stomach hums low and slow. You burp once, quietly. No one notices. You keep walking. You round a corner and nearly slip on something smooth ash, maybe, or grease. Your boots shuffle until they grip again. A gray film coats the cobblestones. The air sharpens. It smells of vinegar smoke and something faintly sulphurous. You follow the smell. The alley narrows between two crooked stone walls. Someone has chalked a crude fish onto one. Ahead, barrels squat under tattered cloths, their rims streaked with soot and dry residue. A low table leans unevenly on packed dirt, its legs wrapped in old rope to keep it from wobbling. You hear the sound of shells cracking. You step closer. A man sits cross-legged behind the barrels. He wears a felt cap and a wool tunic soaked through the elbows. He stirs a wide bowl with a carved spoon. Inside, pale eggs floating in vinegar, some cracked, some whole. The liquid is cloudy. Bits of leaf drift near the surface. Maybe bay, maybe not. He picks one out with long fingers, wipes it on his tunic, and hands it to you. You pause. He shrugs. You take it. The shell is rough. Not white, not brown. Gray, dusted in fine ash. You scrape it lightly. The ash smears. Your fingers pick up the scent smoke and salt and rot. You crack the egg. The shell peels in uneven flakes. The white is yellowed soft. The yolk is firm. You bite. The taste is vinegar. Pure. Piercing. Then sulfur. Then warmth. It's not spoiled. But it isn't fresh. You chew slowly. Swallow. It sits heavy. You set the shell down. It rolls slightly before catching in a crack between stones. Beside the egg barrel, another vendor stirs pickled onions in a pot heated with coal. The smell wafts sharp nasal, nearly blinding. He spoons one into your palm. You eat it in 2 bites. Tears blur your eyes. To your right, a cart offers jars of preserved roots, horseradish garlic, mustard seed, each soaked in a different brine. You dip a finger. Taste. Your tongue recoils, then adjusts. At another stand, a girl pulls bundles of greens from a barrel filled with salt water. Sorrel nettle charred, limp and pale. She arranges them in small piles on a linen square. You take a pinch. It tastes like seawater and dust. Historians still argue whether pickled vegetables and eggs were widely eaten by commoners or primarily reserved for taverns and wayfarers. Recipes vary, some with wine, others with soot, and still others with urine-sterilized water. Most agree they helped mask the absence of refrigeration. A boy stomps through carrying a tray of cold lentils mashed with crushed egg and vinegar. You buy a scoop. It's pasty, sharp, unpleasant. You finish it anyway. Beside him, a barrel of salted duck eggs rests on straw. They are darker, firmer. You try one. It crumbles in your hand. The yolk stains your fingertips. The flavor is earthy, almost good. Near the alley's edge, someone fries egg slices in goat fat. The smell is rich, familiar. You ask for one. He hands you 2. You eat both. A stone bench offers brief rest. You sit. A dog noses at your feet, then moves on. Behind you, a woman places boiled eggs into a pot of ash. She says they'll steep for hours. Softens the taste, she explains. You nod. To your left, a vendor offers pickled mushrooms. You try one. It squelches between your teeth. Tastes like brine and mildew. You eat another. They get better. Farther along, a man opens a jar of quail eggs sealed with lard. He scoops one out with a twig. You chew. The white is rubbery. the yolk sandy. Next to him, someone slices boiled eggs and lays them onto barley flatbread smeared with mustard paste. You eat a piece. It burns your throat slightly. A barrel at the far end gurgles as something bubbles within. You lean over. Floating eggs blackened by time. The vendor laughs. "Celebration eggs," he says. "For weddings." You pass. You follow the lane as it bends left past two, leaning homes and a sagging clothesline. A smell drifts with you. Vinegar, ash, cooked fat. You approach a small stall with no roof. A woman squats behind it, peeling eggs with one hand while frying others with the other. Her pan is warped. Her hands are quick. You order two. She splits them onto a barley cake. Add salt. Sprinkles something gray on top. You bite. Crunch from the cake. Softness from the egg. A faint sourness that cuts through the lard. You eat both. Your mouth feels warm. Your stomach gurgles. Not in protest. Not yet. You toss the last eggshell into a ditch. It joins others. Cracked. Burned. Streaked with soot. You wipe your fingers on your tunic. The ash sticks anyway. The smell of vinegar lingers as you walk on. You don't look back. The wind shifts again. A dry gust brushes past your cheek, carrying the scent of sweat dust and something else, sweet and foreign. You lift your head. The crowd parts slightly as a trio of men moves through the market square, leading a small mule cart with faded red cloth draped across its frame. The bells on the mule's harness jingle softly. You follow. The cart stops near a crumbling wall. The cloth is pulled back, revealing jars, baskets, bolts of cloth, and trays of dried goods arranged with precision. Their colors stand out in this gray-brown world. Orange threads of saffron, pale yellow. Raisins, ruby dates, and deep brown sugar lumps shaped into cubes and wrapped in waxed leaves. The men speak in low tones. One wears a green tunic stitched with golden thread. Another wears a headscarf and leather vest. Their accents don't match the local rhythm. They are merchants, traders from far away, Genoese maybe, or Arab. No one asks. Everyone watches. You move closer. One man breaks off a piece of candied ginger and places it on a square of cloth. He sprinkles something, possibly cardamom, over it, then hands it to a waiting hand. The buyer pays with a small coin and disappears into the crowd. You step forward. A glass jar glints in the sunlight. Inside, dried apricots rest in layers. Their skin wrinkled, their color deep. You point. The vendor opens the lid and lifts one out with wooden tongs. He offers it. You bite. Soft, tart, with a whisper of sweetness that blooms the longer you chew. Your mouth waters. You nod. He nods back. Next to the apricots, figs lie stacked like coins pressed flat from weight. They glisten faintly. You take one. The seeds crackle under your teeth. The taste is rich, earthy, almost musky. A bowl holds hard candies, amber-colored drops of something boiled, then dusted in fine sugar. You suck one slowly. It melts down to something floral. Rose? Maybe lavender. You can't tell. It lingers. Historians still argue whether such luxuries were available to peasants or reserved for wealthy traders and noble tables. Some accounts mention coins saved for a single sweet treat. Others suggest gifts passed hand to hand from distant cities like Venice, Damascus, or Cairo. What's certain is that flavor traveled slowly, expensively, and never alone. To your right, a tray of dried citrus slices, lemons, oranges, even bitter limes. Their edges are curled. You lift one to your nose. It smells bright. It tastes sour, then oddly metallic. You chew the rind. It resists. Behind the cart, a tall man with dark eyes grinds spices on a flat stone. Clove, cumin, coriander, faint wisps lift from the surface. The smell is dizzying. You watch his hand move in slow circles. The rhythm is hypnotic. Beside him, another man stirs something in a small metal pot. A paste of sesame honey and crushed nuts. You dip a stick. Taste. Sweet, gritty, and dense. You chew for a long time. You want more. He knows. He charges double. To your left, strips of dried meat hang like parchment. They're seasoned heavily. Some with chili, some with herbs. You ask what kind of meat. No one answers. You try one anyway. Tough. Smoky. Salty. You keep chewing. A woman leans in to whisper something. The vendor hands her a paper-wrapped parcel. She slips it into her sleeve and vanishes. No one blinks. A child tugs at your sleeve and offers a tray of small pastries, thin dough wrapped around dates and almonds, then fried and cooled. You bite. Flakes fall. The center is warm from the sun. Your teeth sink in. You chew slowly. You swallow. Behind you, someone plays a pipe. A melody, slow and soft. The notes weave through the alley. People stop. Listen. Then move on. A merchant pours something from a narrow jug into a cup made of folded leaves. You accept it. Sip. The drink is spiced milk. Cold. Sweet. Tastes like cinnamon and crushed seeds. You drink slowly. Near the cart's rear, a flat tray holds salt blocks, white, gray, pink, carved into small cubes, some tied in bundles. You pick one up. It's smooth. Cool. You don't lick it, but someone else does. They nod. They take 5. You step back slightly as another tray is unveiled. It holds candied citrus peels, slivers of dried ginger, small bundles of mint leaves wrapped in string. A man nearby crushes one of the mint bundles and inhales. His eyes close. He looks like he just remembered something pleasant. A girl offers you a dried fig stuffed with walnut paste. She says nothing. You take it. It's dense, chewy, sweet. The walnut hits first, then the fig. You finish it before she's walked away. Someone offers a tray of black sugar molasses, boiled down, cooled, broken into shards. You break off a corner. It sticks to your fingers. You chew. The flavor is bitter, then deep, then gone. A vendor uncorks a bottle of syrup, pomegranate maybe, or something close. He pours a drop on your finger. You taste. It's sharp, sour, oddly floral. You want another. He declines. The breeze returns. The cloth of the cart flaps gently. The mule stirs. One merchant begins packing up. You take a last fig. A last sip of milk. You bow slightly. The merchant nods back. You step away. The foreign scents fade behind you. Cinnamon gives way to coal, ginger to mud, sugar to smoke. Your pockets are empty. Your mouth is sweet. You keep walking. The wind fades. The alley narrows once more, guiding your steps through a crooked passage behind the bakery row. A faint mildew clings to the walls where moss spreads like old bruises. The stones underfoot shift with a hollow sound. Somewhere ahead a bell rings, once dull and slow. You catch it before the smell reaches you. Pungent, tangy, alive. You turn a corner. Here, under a sloping wooden beam that leans against an adjacent house, rests a row of crates covered in leaves. Thick rope ties them shut, but the smell escapes anyway, an unmistakable mix of overripe fruit, damp straw, and a sharp sting like vinegar, and mold, having a long argument. You stop in front of a stall with no sign. Just a single stool and a man sharpening a knife. His apron is stained and stiff. His eyes are quiet. He gestures toward the crates. Cheese. You kneel. He pulls back the leaves from one of the crates. Inside pale rounds of cheese lie stacked, each wrapped in cloth that's no longer white. Some have green specks. Others have orange mold near the edges. All of them smell like something gone too far. He lifts a round, cuts into it slowly. The rind resists. The knife squeaks. The center gives way, soft and trembling. He places a sliver on a bark tray and offers it to you. You eat. It clings to your tongue, clogs your nose, and fills your sinuses with sharpness. It tastes like butter left in the sun, soaked in wine, and buried under a goat. You chew. You swallow. You blink. He smiles. Beside the crate, another cheese rests under a wooden bell to keep the flies off. It doesn't work. You swat one away, lift the bell, and lean in. This cheese has no rind, just a slick, shiny surface that ripples slightly when touched. You ask what's in it. Milk and thyme, he says. You taste a dot on your finger. The flavor is soft, then wild. It spreads slowly. Your tongue tingles. You can't tell if it's pleasure or warning. Historians still argue whether early medieval cheeses were made with true microbial intention, or merely the result of repeated accidents. Curdled milk in an animal's stomach. Salted cream buried in straw. Stories differ. Results linger. At the next stall, a girl cuts a soft wheel of cheese wrapped in crushed leaves. The aroma is floral, but the texture is oily. You ask for a slice. She hands you one with her bare fingers. You eat it. The rind sticks to your teeth. The center tastes like fermented hay. Beside her, a man sells hardened goat cheese in chunks. You chip off a piece. It crumbles like stone. You chew. It turns to sand in your mouth. Salty, dusty, dry. He laughs. Winter cheese, he says, meant to last forever. Farther along, another vendor lays out stringy curds pulled into braids. He dusts them with herbs and dried garlic. You try one. The texture is chewy. The flavor is clean. For once, something feels safe. A barrel nearby holds balls of soft cheese soaked in vinegar. You scoop one onto bread. It spreads like paste. The taste is sharp, then smooth, then gone. You try another. Your nose wrinkles. You finish it anyway. A woman with gray hair sells cheese wrapped in dried bark. She says the bark adds flavor. You believe her. You chew one edge. It tastes like wet tree. The cheese inside tastes like pepper and old dreams. Next to her, a young boy stirs melted cheese in a pot. He adds breadcrumbs, herbs, and chopped onions. He calls it supper. You eat from a wooden spoon. It warms your chest. You want more. He shrugs. Gone, he says. A man in a thick cloak carves a blue-veined cheese with a knife too large for the task. He cuts slivers, lays them on slate, and charges too much. You buy one. You chew. You stare ahead. You swallow. It tastes like soapstone and something close to despair, but also satisfaction. A woman balances small rounds of white cheese on her head. She sells them to passing children. You try one. It's fresh, soft, almost bland. You like it. A tray of spiced cheese balls sits unattended. You take one. It's rolled in herbs and ash. The texture is smooth. The taste smoky, sour, and strangely addictive. A jar of cheese curd and olive oil waits near the corner. You dip bread. The oil is thick. The curd is sharp. Your lips glisten. Another stall offers hard cheese aged with dried fruit. You try a cube. It tastes like someone's idea of dessert. You eat 3. You rest near a cracked wall. A crow watches you from a gutter. Somewhere water drips. A child hums. You unwrap the last piece of cheese saved from the first crate. It smells worse now. You eat it anyway. Your mouth goes numb. You nod once and move on. The lane curves again, leading you behind a stone chapel that smells of wax and wet moss. Ivy creeps up its walls and pigeons mutter from the rafters above. The bells do not ring here. But you hear voices. Soft, careful. The kind that belong indoors. You pass under a low archway, stepping through a wooden door left slightly ajar. The hinges creak. No one turns to look. You are in the pantry of a monastery. It is dim inside. Stone walls cradle the scent of flower beeswax and something faintly herbal. You breathe slower here, as if the air insists on reverence. A monk with a round face gestures silently to a long table. On it, trays of confections, small uniform wrapped in linen. You step closer. The linen is damp, in places soaked with syrup. He lifts a piece. Sugar-stiffened almonds stuck together in a lumpy square. You bite. The outer crust crunches like glass. Inside, the almond is bitter. The coating is honey boiled until it hardened. It clings to your teeth. You chew slowly. You swallow. He places another in your hand. Smaller, round, pink. You look at him. He nods. You taste it. Rose jelly. Soft, cool, almost floral. You chew once, then twice. The flavor dissolves before you can finish processing it. A ghost of sweetness remains on your tongue. A bell rings in the distance. He does not move. A second monk enters carrying a wide tray of boiled sugar drops. They shine in the torchlight, pale yellow, almost white. Some are twisted, others cracked. You are offered one. You take it. The taste is sharp, pure sweetness without fruit or spice. Just the intense flavor of boiled honey cooked until brittle, then cooled on a slate board. It melts slowly, clinging to the roof of your mouth. Historians still argue whether monks created sugar candies purely for religious rituals or quietly snacked on them behind stone walls. Some recipes survive in faded ledgers, suggesting the latter. Others were guarded as secrets. The truth likely hides in both. A third monk passes with a tray of almond paste rolled into balls and dusted with crushed lavender. He offers none. You follow him anyway. He enters a small chamber. Inside, glass jars lining one side filled with herbs, fruit preserves, and what looks like crystallized orange peel. He points to a jar. You nod. He opens it. The scent is intense, bitter, and sweet. He places a small peel on your palm. You chew. The bitterness hits first, then fades. The sugar layer comes next, slow and thick. You finish it without speaking. Next to the jars, a bowl of thick syrup sits covered in linen. He uncovers it. You see the shimmer of candied fennel seeds. You take a pinch. They crunch. Your mouth floods with flavor, anise, and honey. You try not to cough. In the corner, a flat tray holds what looks like hard bread smeared with brown paste. You break off a corner. The bread is dry. The paste is made from dates and crushed sesame. It sticks to your fingers and the roof of your mouth. On a shelf, rounds of sugar loaves rest in cloth wraps. Pure sugar boiled and shaped. Used more often for medicine than dessert. You are allowed to touch one. It is heavier than it looks. A small door creaks open. A younger monk gestures toward another room. You follow. It is cooler here. Stone bins hold dried fruits, figs, plums, raisins, all dark and leathery. He hands you a small dish. You take one of each. The fig is sweet and gritty. The plum tastes like smoke. The raisin is nearly sour. You eat all three. On a low table, dishes hold strips of quince jelly, smooth, yellow, cut into thin slices. You chew one. It tastes like concentrated autumn. The flavor coats your mouth, lingers. A monk hands you a flat white square. You hesitate. He nods. You bite. Sugar and starch boiled into a thick paste, then dried into a brittle sheet. It cracks in your mouth like glass, then melts away into nothing. Another tray holds marzipan soft-shaped into leaves and animals. You try one shaped like a fish. It tastes like almond, then sugar, then ash from the tray. You walk slowly down the next row of shelves. There are bottles, sealed with wax. One monk uncorks a bottle and pours a thin trickle into a wooden spoon. You sip. Syrup of pomegranate and honey. Thick, dark, sweet enough to hurt your teeth. You finish it. The monk wipes the spoon on his sleeve. A corner shelf holds boiled sweets rolled in ground spice. Clove, nutmeg, pepper. You try one. Your tongue burns, then tingles, then adjusts. You sit for a moment on a low bench. The air is still. You hear nothing but the soft shuffle of sandals on stone. A monk brings a plate with one final sweet almond flour mixed with honey shaped into a coin. You eat it. It dissolves slowly. Your fingers are sticky. Your mouth tastes like 1,000 years. You nod in silence. They nod in return. You step back through the arch. The street is louder now. You chew the last of the almond sweet. You walk on. The sky has begun to shift just slightly toward gray. A quiet settles in the distance, not full silence, but the low hum of tired footsteps, empty bowls, and smoldering fires. You cross into a narrow gap between two crooked buildings. The path is darker here, colder, and it smells like meat, not roasted, not stewed, but cooked low and heavy. The scent clings to the stone, thick and sweet. You walk toward it. A fire crackles in a stone hearth sunken into the ground. Over it hangs a pan, black with use and bent at the edge. Inside, a sausage curls like a rope. The fat renders, slowly hissing when it strikes the flames. The surface crisps. The edges blister. You step closer. A woman with a scarf tied over her head turns the sausage with a long iron fork. She adds another raw darker and laced with something red. She doesn't speak. She doesn't look up. You wait. She plates one for you on a flat round of barley bread. It drips. The bread catches the fat. You sit on an overturned bucket and eat. The casing cracks. The filling is rich, gritty, slightly metallic. Blood, barley, herbs, bits of offal. You chew, you swallow. It sits heavy in your stomach. You take another bite. The bread softens beneath the meat. You tear it with your teeth. The flavor deepens iron salt spice. The sausage breaks apart between your fingers. You lick them clean. Beside the fire, another pan holds fried barley mash pressed into rough cakes. You take one. It crumbles. It's dry. But it soaks up the remaining grease on your plate. A small boy carries a pail of lard scooping spoonfuls into pans down the alley. He hums without melody. He doesn't stop. Each fire in the row has its own, cook its own version of the same dish. Blood sausage, barley, sometimes beans. At the next fire, a man stirs a thick pot of stew. He says nothing, ladles some into a wood bowl and offers you a chunk of blackened bread to go with it. You taste. It's meat. Barely. Sinew. Gristle. Maybe rabbit. Maybe rat. The broth is peppered with onion, garlic, and something that might be sage. You chew the bread. It scrapes the roof of your mouth. The stew softens it. Historians still argue whether breakfast for the common medieval worker was more likely to be cold leftovers or hot meals like these. Church records suggest early meals after sunrise for laborers. But what those meals included varies from cheese and porridge to, in some towns, leftover blood sausage fried again in fresh fat. A dog sniffs around your feet. You toss it the hard edge of your bread. It catches it mid-air and vanishes. You sip from a cup of ale handed to you without a word. It's warm, thin, still better than water. Someone drops a pan. A loud clang echoes. No one reacts. Another fire burns farther down. A woman fries onions in a shallow pool of oil. The smell curls through the alley, sweet, sharp, familiar. She tosses in bits of chopped meat, browning quickly, and cracks an egg over the pan. The yolk sizzles. She scoops the mess onto a flatbread and hands it off. You ask for the same. She gives you half. You eat with your fingers. The egg yolk soaks into the bread. The meat is chewy. The onion burns the tip of your tongue. It's perfect for now. At the far end, a man in a patched coat roasts kidneys over charcoal. He bastes them in vinegar and herbs, turning them with 2 sticks. The scent is strong, earthy. You take one. It tastes like liver and smoke. You eat it anyway. A small table offers bowls of cracked grain porridge, made with lard leeks and black pepper. You dip a spoon. It's thick. It sticks, but it tastes of salt and warmth. You finish it. Next to it, someone sells fried chicken livers, breaded hard, still warm. You bite. They crumble. The taste is bitter. You chew through it. You rest on a low bench. Someone hands you a folded bread pouch with sausage inside. It's wrapped in parchment that was once part of a sermon. You read a few words, then eat the sausage. Across from you, a young man stirs a pot of beans and barley. You taste it. It's bland. You add salt from a small bowl. It helps. A woman walks by with a tray of meat pies. She shouts a price. You pay it. The crust is flaky, the filling thick. You finish it in 3 bites. You want another. You don't ask. A child carries a pot of rendered fat down the path, slopping it onto open pans to keep them hot. She doesn't spill a drop. You sip more ale. It cuts through the grease on your tongue. A vendor near the end of the row offers pig skin boiled with barley and herbs. You try a strip. It's chewy. Too chewy. You chew for a long time, then swallow. A man wraps blood sausage in cabbage leaves and roasts them beside the fire. He hands you one. You eat it in silence. You wipe your hands on your tunic. Your fingers are greasy. Your lips are slick. Your belly is full. The fires crackle softly. No one speaks. You nod to the woman who fed you first. She nods back. You walk on. The alley opens slowly, one crooked doorway at a time, until the walls give way to a courtyard hemmed in by overhanging balconies and broken shingles. The sun barely reaches this place. Shadows pool beneath old beams and warped shutters. It smells like damp wood sour ale and something cooking. You hear laughter, not loud, not joyful, just rough, tired amusement that rises and fades like smoke from the fire pits in the corners. A door swings open behind you and slams shut. You step forward. A tavern stands in the center. Not a grand hall, not a noble's lodge, just a stone foundation timber frame and smoke-blackened shutters that never fully close. The door hangs ajar. You push gently. It creaks. Inside, the light is gold and red. Candles flicker low in niches carved into the wall. The ceiling slants dangerously. Smoke clings to every beam. The floor tilts. The tables wobble. You are not the first here. Men and women hunch over bowls, bread crusts, mugs of ale, their shoulders slumped, their hands stained, their eyes slow to rise. You take a seat near the hearth. A server approaches, sets a wooden bowl in front of you without a word. Inside, stew. Thick, gray, punctuated with orange from carrot, green from leek, and occasional brown lumps that might be meat. You dip the spoon. It sinks slow. The broth clings. You raise it. You taste. It is warm, salted. The meat is tough. It resists the bite. You chew. You do not ask what animal. No one does. A crust of bread lands beside your bowl, torn, not sliced, blackened at the edges. You dip it into the stew. The crust softens. You eat. You do not speak. The room hums low with murmurs. Wood shifts. A chair groans. Someone coughs. A man across from you tears meat from a bone with his teeth. His beard soaks in the juices. He does not wipe it. Another dips a rag into his ale, wipes his face, then drinks. Someone sings a line of a song. No one joins. It dies in the steam. You glance at the next table. A woman eats from a platter of boiled barley eggs and what looks like squirrel meat. She tears it with her fingers. She licks them after. Historians still argue whether tavern food in the Middle Ages was a community staple or a rare indulgence. Most records suggest both. Stew was common, its contents dependent on luck scraps or yesterday's leftovers. Bread and ale were constant. Identity of the meat was not. A tall man at the bar orders the pot bottom. He gets a ladleful of thick stew with fat clinging to the edge. He drinks it from the bowl, then burps once slow. A child brings you another slice of bread. He offers no plate, just hands it over. You nod. He leaves. The tavern keeper sets out more bowls, stew pottage, barley with dripping, all warm, all heavy, all thick. You try one. The taste is sour, probably vinegar, or age, or both. A man in the corner stabs a knife into what might be a bird's wing. He tears it, sucks the bone, spits the gristle. The bone clatters. He drinks. A plate of beans passes down the bar. Boiled, mashed, salted. 1 spoon. 5 mouths. No one minds. Someone drops a tankard. It rolls. No one moves. A woman pulls a dried sausage from her sleeve, slices it with her fingernail, and shares it with the table. It smells like garlic and old pork. You are offered a piece. You take it. You chew slowly. The skin is tough. The filling sharp. You swallow. The server returns. Another bowl. This time with what might be pork shoulder cooked long, but not enough. The bone is loose. The fat glistens. You eat around the gristle. Behind you, a man eats marrow with a stick. He scoops it from a cracked bone. You ask for the same. You are handed a shin bone split down the center. You slurp. It is warm, rich, slick. The bread helps. So does the ale. A kettle sits near the hearth. Someone stirs it. Bread crusts float with onions and wilted greens. You are offered a ladle. You accept. The flavor is weak but warm. A woman walks in with a basket of tripe. She fries it over a stone slab. It crackles. She serves it folded in bread. You try one. Chewy, rubbery, oily. You chew until it goes quiet. In the corner, a drunk man eats dried fish soaked in wine. His fingers shine. His breath could stun a cow. You are handed a turnip pie. You do not ask from whom. You eat. The crust is thick, the filling mealy. You keep going. You sit. You chew. You swallow. No one speaks. No one needs to. The stew warms you. The bread fills you. The ale softens everything else. The tavern hums with chewing. You wipe your hands on your trousers. They were already stained. The fire pops. A man snores. You lean back. You close your eyes. You keep chewing. The tavern door creaks as you push it open. The air outside is cooler now, brushed with the faint smell of damp earth and hearth smoke rising from unseen chimneys. The light is fading, but the sky hasn't darkened yet. You follow the edge of the courtyard to a quieter lane that twists through crumbling stone walls and rows of leaning stalls. Ahead, a boy waves a cloth fan over a tray of round, flat biscuits lined in uneven rows. The edges are dark. Some are cracked. A few bear holes, deliberate or not. He fans harder, keeping flies off. You step closer. He holds one up. You take it. The surface feels rough with tiny ridges and a hint of grit. You sniff. It smells faintly of smoke and flour. You bite. Crunch. Then crunch again. Something inside resists in a way flour doesn't. You pause. You chew. You taste grain, oil, ash, and something else. Something earthy, nutty, foreign. You look at the boy. He shrugs. Crickets, he says. You blink. He adds, baked right in. For strength. You chew again. Now that you know, it makes sense. The grit, the crunch, the aftertaste. You swallow. A second tray holds similar biscuits, but these are darker and glazed with something glossy. You try one. Sweeter, still crunchy, still that same undercurrent of roasted insect. You eat it all. A man nearby shapes another batch of dough by hand. He flattens it over a stone slab heated by coals. Before baking, he sprinkles in a mix of dried mealworms, chopped herbs, and a few ground seeds. He presses it flat with his palm, then slides it into the ashes. The edges puff. The middle bubbles. He flips it once. He hands you one. You eat, crunch, chew, swallow. No floury softness here. Only density and resilience. A small girl offers you a pouch. Inside, dried crickets, toasted and mixed with salt and vinegar. You pinch a few. They snap between your fingers. You toss them into your mouth. Sharp, crisp, not unpleasant. Historians still argue whether insects were an intentional protein source or simply a tolerated byproduct of poor grain storage. Some towns dried and baked them into flour. Others toasted them for survival rations. In either case, the line between necessity and snack was often blurred. Beside her, an older woman grinds something in a mortar. You peer inside. Grasshoppers, legs removed, crushed into powder with garlic and dried onion. She adds it to barley flour, kneads it with water, and forms small cakes. You try one. Soft inside, hard shell outside, slight tang. You finish it. A man behind her stirs a pot of porridge. He adds cricket flour by the spoonful, thickening it until it holds shape. He ladles some into a clay bowl and slides it your way. You take a mouthful. Warm, thick, nutty. You chew slowly. You do not stop. In another stall, a row of skewers sits above a narrow flame. Each holds roasted beetles glazed in honey. You take one. The shell crunches. The inside softens. You bite carefully. The sweetness masks most of the taste. You finish it. A cart nearby carries bundles of insect jerky, dried, flattened bugs, pressed into sheets with fruit paste and salt. You try a strip. It pulls like leather. It chews like nothing else. You swallow. A group of boys toss a biscuit between them, laughing as pieces break off. One pops a chunk into his mouth and grins. "Cricket crisp," he says. You try one. It tastes like charred grain and oil, and something darker. A woman near the back sells sweet cakes shaped like animals. They look normal. You bite. Inside small worms, dried, roasted, crunchy. The outside is sugar. The inside is surprise. You eat it all. Nearby, a pot of hot oil bubbles as a man drops battered insects into it, grasshoppers, beetles, larvae. They rise golden. He fishes them out. He offers you a handful in a folded leaf. You take it. Each bite pops. Some bitter, some mild. You chew, you swallow, you wipe your fingers. A small table holds powdered insect meal rolled into logs with dried fruit. You try one. Dense, heavy, tastes like raisin and ash. Another man offers sky meat a joke, perhaps. It's a roasted dragonfly wings, crisped away legs removed. You eat it in one bite. The flavor vanishes instantly. A child brings you a cup of soup. You drink. Bits float in the broth, tiny legs, dark wings, fragments of roasted shell. The broth itself is savory, even rich. You hand the cup back. Someone passes with a sack of cricket flour, trading it for herbs. You overhear him say it lasts longer than barley. A bowl of ground meal sits nearby. You dip a damp piece of bread into it. It coats like paste. You taste it. It clings. It numbs your tongue. But you swallow. A bird cries above. A dog barks once. The wind changes again. You step aside and lean against a post. The aftertaste stays. Nutty, salty, burnt. You look at the biscuit in your hand. You eat it. You keep walking. The sky bruises at the edges now. Evening presses down, dimming the corners of the street and painting puddles with dull reflections. Lamps flicker behind warped window panes. You feel the shift in pace. Fewer voices, longer shadows, but not silence, not here. You step into a crooked lane where children cluster near a broken cart. Their laughter cracks through the stillness like brittle branches. They're playing something. You pause. The game is simple. A pile of apples, some bruised, some intact, sits on the edge of the cart bed. One child tosses an apple into the air. Another leaps, bites it mid-fall and spits the core. They cheer, jeer, laugh. The rules change each time. You watch a girl toss her apple high. A boy catches it with his teeth. The skin splits. Juice sprays. The core hits the ground with a soft thud. He grins, chews, swallows. You edge closer. The apples are not fresh. Their skins wrinkle. Some are caved in. A few show signs of chewing from someone or something else. Still the children play. One offers you an apple. Small, hard, dented. You accept. You bite. It resists, then yields. The flesh is dry, faintly sweet, slightly sour. You chew. It scratches your gums. A boy juggles 3 apples drops. One kicks it into a puddle, picks it up again, and eats it without blinking. Another child slices an apple with a stone shard, spreads it with what might be rancid butter, and takes a bite. He offers you the rest. You decline. He shrugs. A girl peels her apple using only her teeth. The skin coils onto the cobbles. She eats the peel, leaves the rest. Someone throws an apple at a dog. The dog barks once, eats it whole. Historians still argue whether such games were invented for entertainment or out of necessity. Some records show orchard thefts by children during lean seasons. Others mention apples traded at market stalls half rotten, sold by weight, not quality. The children don't care. They chew, they laugh, they spit seeds. One child throws an apple high and misses the catch. It bounces off a cartwheel and rolls to your foot. You pick it up. You toss it back. The game continues. A girl with a basket arrives, setting down another dozen apples. Some are red. Most are spotted. A few are soft to the touch. She offers them with a grin. The children dig in. You take one. It yields immediately too easily. The inside is brown. You eat it anyway. Texture, wet paper. Flavor, cider gone wrong. You hear one child shout, "Worm." He holds up a half-eaten apple, a squirming shape inside. He laughs, eats the other half. Everyone claps. A small boy picks up a mushy apple, bites, winces, spits, then shrugs. He throws the rest to a passing pig. A pile of cores grows at the center of the game. Juices leak into the soil. The smell is part fruit, part vinegar, part something you don't name. You spot a girl slicing an apple into thin coins and laying them onto a hot slate stone. She sprinkles them with salt and ash. You wait. She hands you one. It crackles slightly. You chew. It's sour, warm, strange, but not bad. Another child brings a bowl of cider. Flat, cloudy, warm. You sip. The taste is musty. You keep sipping. Nearby, someone mixes crushed apple with dried herbs and honey. A paste. He spreads it onto bread. You try it. The bread is stale. The paste is sweet. Your teeth stick. You don't mind. A boy shows you a trick pressing an apple underfoot until it bursts. He scoops the pulp and eats it. You do not try. Someone has roasted a few apples on sticks over a brazier. Their skins are blackened, their insides melted. You are handed one. It burns your fingers. You eat around the char. Another game begins. Who can eat the fastest? The apples are small. The children chew quickly, seeds and all. You try. Your teeth ache. You lose. A girl offers you her last apple. It's nearly hollow. You thank her. You eat it. It collapses in your mouth. You sit on a barrel and watch them. Juice drips from their chins. Seeds scatter underfoot. Laughter fills the lane, echoing off the walls. The smell of old fruit and muddy boots hangs in the air. You lean back. You chew the last of your apple. You close your eyes. You keep listening. The laughter of the children fades behind you, replaced by the soft scuff of your own footsteps. The light continues to dim. Evening has arrived not with sudden darkness, but with a gradual washing out of color. Everything turns gray. You pass under an archway and step into a side street that smells faintly of grease, wood smoke, and something older like meat left too long in the sun. A crooked man stands beneath a slanted awning. He calls out in a voice as dry as parchment. Feast scraps. Cheap. You pause. In front of him, a wide table sags under trays of bones, crusts broken pies and meat with ragged bite marks. Nothing is whole. Everything has already been chewed once, if not by people, then by time. He pulls back a cloth. A row of gnawed drumsticks, browned but still clinging to bits of flesh. He picks one up and offers it to you. You accept. It's cold. The skin has turned rubbery. You bite. The meat resists. You chew slowly. It tastes of salt fire and someone else's dinner. He slides another tray forward, ribs, half eaten, some cracked open, the marrow visible. You suck one. The taste is faint. The fat is stiff. The bone is smooth. A boy at the next stall holds up a crust of meat pie. The filling has shrunk away from the pastry walls. You take a piece. It crumbles. The crust is oily. The meat inside is sour. You chew. You swallow. Behind them, a woman unwraps a cloth bundle filled with broken trenchers, bread plates soaked through with stew. The bread is nearly black in places. The smell is sharp. You pick one. It folds in your hand like wet bark. You eat it. A bowl of marrow bones rests in a wooden trough. Some have been cracked open, others not. You pick one, find a sharp stone, and tap. A fracture forms. You scrape with your fingernail. The marrow is waxy cold. You eat it with the tip of your tongue. Historians still argue whether servants were allowed to take feast leftovers for profit, or whether these sales were done quietly in back alleys and dark corners. Either way, the food made it here where nothing was wasted and no one asked questions. A man lifts the lid on a cracked pot. Inside, the remains of a fowl. Headless. Boneless. Barely there. A soup of scraps. He stirs once, then ladles it into a cup. You drink. It's thin. Tastes of onion and old feathers. Next to him, someone lays out skins, roasted pork skins from a banquet tray, curled and tough. You try one. It cracks like wood. Then softens. Then sticks. A girl hands out bits of cheese left from a noble's table, green-edged, soft. You take a bite. It's sharp, then metallic, then gone. A man passes you a chunk of bread heavy with drippings, meat fat thick and cooled. You chew it like tallow. Another boy sells the burnt bottoms of pies. You buy one. It's hard, blackened. The edge snaps when you bite it. You wash it down with weak ale poured from a cracked jug. You see a tray of apples, bitten browning, half eaten. You take one. Find the untouched side. You finish it. Someone brings out a platter with fish bones, small, delicate, still glistening with oil. You pick one up, nibble the edges. A fragment of meat remains. You eat it. A loaf of bread with a hollow center rests on a cloth. You tear off a piece. Inside, a piece of meat, forgotten or hidden. You eat it. It's the best bite you've had all day. At the end of the row, a servant lays down a platter of cold turnips mixed with barley and the ends of sausages. You take a spoonful. The texture is mush. The flavor smoky and sour. You eat it all. A woman sells the stems from roasted herbs. You chew one. It splinters, then dissolves. Someone offers a duck wing, mostly bone. You crunch what's left of the tip. Another boy gives you a bone with a ribbon on it. You ask what it was. He shrugs. Something rich. You sit on a crate. Your hands are greasy, your lips coated in salt and ash. A dog sits beside you waiting for your scraps. You offer the last piece of bone. He takes it gently. You lean back. You close your eyes. You chew the last crust. You swallow. You keep sitting. The shadows lengthen. Lamps glow softly in windows, now tiny squares of gold behind streaked panes. You turn a corner and pause. The lane ahead is narrow, quiet, and swept clean not by broom, but by absence. No shouting here, no clatter, just silence and the smell of something rich, spiced and sweet. You walk slowly. To your right, a tall iron gate hangs ajar. Beyond it, a stone courtyard flat, and even with a single table draped in dark cloth. No vendor calls, no child begs. Just one woman in black robes arranging small loaves into neat rows. You step closer. She looks up, eyes tired, voice low. "Corpse cakes," she says. You do not speak. She gestures to the table. Each cake is shaped like a small figure, arms crossed, feet pointed, heads tilted slightly to one side. Some have names scored into their surface. Others just symbols, crosses, stars, loops. All are baked from dark flour soaked in honey, laced with dried fruits and cloves. The scent rises warm and slow. You reach out. She nods. You take one. It's heavy, dense, the crust slightly sticky. You bite. The texture is chewy. Inside, it's soft wet from syrup and packed with raisins, fig, and spice. The flavor is deep clove and nutmeg, bitter herbs, something floral you can't name. It fills your mouth, then your throat. You chew slowly. You swallow. She places another in your hand. This one was for a child, she says. You hesitate. Then you bite. Smaller, softer, less spice, more fruit. The sweetness overwhelms. You finish it. On the table rests a clay bowl of syrup, dark, nearly black. She dips a small loaf, lets it soak, then lays it beside the others. The syrup drips slowly, forming a ring on the cloth. A man enters the courtyard, lays a coin on the table, and takes 2 cakes. He bows his head, then leaves. You ask her how many she makes. "As many as are needed," she replies. Historians still argue whether corpse cakes were eaten as mourning rituals or offered only to the dead. Some suggest they were shared at funerals to absorb the soul's passage. Others say they were buried with the body uneaten. A few accounts mention cakes made in the image of the deceased consumed to transfer grief or fate. You eat another. It is bitterer than the rest, the crust firmer, the fruit darker. The name on it is smudged. To your left, a younger woman places a tray of new cakes on a low bench. These are shaped like crosses, flat, no names, no glaze. You pick one up, you chew, dry, dusty, the flavor weak. "They're for the forgotten," she says. You nod. You finish it. A child carries a tray of small cups filled with boiled wine and black honey. You sip. The drink is hot, sticky, slightly smoky. You cough once. She doesn't smile. The elder woman moves to a smaller table. There she lights a short candle, lays down a folded cloth, and sets a cake beside it. A name is whispered. You do not ask whose. You chew. Someone sings softly in a corner. A slow chant. No words. Just the rise and fall of breath. You step to another part of the table. A cake rests on a slate with 4 names etched into it. A family. You break off a corner. The crust snaps. The filling is thick with preserved cherry. The sweetness cuts through the moment, then fades. You stand still. The sky above the courtyard is slate gray now. The air does not move. A man hands you a cup of spiced syrup. You drink. Your mouth goes numb. You like it. A line forms behind you. Quiet. Steady. One by one, others enter. Choose a cake. Eat. Leave. You stay. A tray holds cakes wrapped in rosemary. You unwrap one. Bite. The herb lingers. You chew slowly. A final plate holds burnt loaves, black on the outside, heavy within. You take one. You eat it whole. The woman nods once. You nod back. You walk to the gate. You turn once. They are still baking, still singing, still standing. You step out. The door creaks shut behind you. You keep walking. The lane winds away from the courtyard, narrowing again into a wedge between leaning homes with boarded windows. The sky above turns the color of cooled ash. You step over a broken bucket. Rats scatter into the gaps in the walls. The smell changes. Smoke. Not cooking smoke. This is thicker, oily, mixed with damp plaster and something sharp that cuts the back of your throat. You pull your cloak tighter. You don't stop. A sign swings above a closed door. No words, just the outline of a loaf and a flame. A bakery. But the shutters are drawn and the windows clouded black. You knock. No answer. You push the door. It opens. Inside it's dark except for the glow from a brick oven at the back. The walls are blackened. The air chokes. Flour dust floats like fog. A man stands near the heat, unmoving, his face glistening with sweat. He doesn't look up. He cuts a loaf from a long plank with a knife dulled at the tip. The loaf lands hard. He slides it across the counter toward you. No words. No nod. You pick it up. It's dense. Misshapen. The crust scorched. You bite. The outside crunches like bark. The inside is hot, moist, and sour. You chew. Slowly. It tastes like smoke salt and bitterness. You look around. More loaves rest on slates, some misshapen, others cracked from uneven heat. All dark. He bakes with what he can find. A bucket near the wall holds water-stained gray from soot. You don't ask. You see 2 more workers. A girl turns dough by hand, each twist sticking to her fingers. Her nails are blackened. Her eyes don't rise. A boy tends a second oven. He uses a metal rake to drag ashes across the floor. The heat is too much. His shirt sticks to him. He keeps moving. You spot a door sealed with boards and nails. A symbol scrawled across it. You recognize it. A house marked for plague. This bakery is still open. You chew again. The baker notices your glance. He says nothing. He slides another loaf across the board. This one split down the middle, hollowed slightly in the center. Inside, dried onions, rosemary, and oil. You tear it apart. You eat. The taste is sharp, then flat, then bitter. But it's warm. You finish it. Historians still argue whether plague zones were fed from outside or if tradespeople stayed and worked until the sickness claimed them. Some records show bakers refusing to close. Others note their doors nailed shut from the outside. This one stayed. You bite again. Another loaf sits near the window shaped like a wheel. Baked too long. Crust cracked. Inside air pockets and ash. You eat it. A tray nearby holds small rolls, some plain, others filled with cheese hardened at the edges. You take one of each. The plain one crumbles. The cheese one sticks to your molars. You keep chewing. The boy passes behind you. He carries a loaf wrapped in linen. He sets it outside on the doorstep, then disappears back into the heat. The girl places a tray on a wooden board. Small loaves shaped like skulls. You pick one up. The crust is glossy. The bottom burnt. Inside it tastes faintly sweet. You eat it all. A corner holds broken pieces of flatbread dusted in ash. You chew one. It shatters, then softens. You dip another in water. It dissolves. A child peers through a crack in the shutters. She calls out. No one answers. She leaves. The man slides a final loaf across the board. This one is smaller, denser, shaped like a cross. You take it. You chew. It tastes like wine, like herbs, like a last breath. You sit on a stool near the door. The heat rolls over you. The room pulses in the light of the oven. You close your eyes. You open them again. The baker is still working. The bread keeps coming. You stand. You nod once. He does not nod back. You step into the street. The door closes behind you. You do not look back. You keep chewing. The night settles thick and slow across the rooftops. You walk beneath it, one step at a time, through an alley barely wide enough for your shoulders. No torchlight here. Just faint glimmers from windows overhead, and the sound of dripping water echoing between the stones. You pause. You hear it. Footsteps, soft, quick, too light to be cautious. You step into a doorway and wait. A boy rushes past, barefoot. Wrapped in a sackcloth tunic, he moves like someone who knows each stone, each gutter lip, each place to hide. You follow. He moves between stalls and barrels, around broken carts, past the shuttered doors of food vendors long since packed up. He stops at a crate. He crouches, waits. Then he moves again under a bench, behind a pile of rags, through a gap in the fence. You stay back. He kneels near a fireless hearth. He digs, slowly, quietly. From beneath a board, he pulls out a crust of bread, black at the edges, hollow at the center. He blows on it, picks off something green. He eats, no hesitation. He chews with small bites, stretching each mouthful. He turns the bread over in specks. The other side finds a spot without mold. He bites again. You approach. He doesn't run. He glances up once, then back to his bread. You sit nearby. Say nothing. A dog appears. The boy pulls another crust from his pocket. He breaks it. shares half with the dog. The dog eats in silence. He pulls a pouch from beneath his tunic. Inside, crushed nuts, dried stems, a bit of something waxy. He chews a piece, offers you one. You accept. It tastes like bark and old honey. You chew. It sticks. You swallow. He pulls out a root, half a turnip, shriveled and brown. He bites. You hear the crunch. A chicken clucks in the distance. You watch as he crawls beneath a bench, reaches under it, and pulls out a piece of biscuit. Cracked. Thin. He eats it. No question of where it came from. He licks the crumbs from his palm. Historians still argue whether medieval cities had structured food relief or whether survival belonged to those who moved fastest and asked the fewest questions. There were almshouses, yes, but not enough. There were soup lines, but not every day. There were boys like this. The boy moves again. Behind a shop wall, he finds a dropped apple, bruised, half-eaten. He flips it, bites the clean side. The skin folds under his teeth. He chews until the stem dangles. He spits the core into the dark. You follow him down a side alley where the shadows stretch long across the stones. He slips under a gate. You do the same. Here, he opens a sack hidden in the wall. Inside, scraps, bones licked clean, a crumbling oatcake, a strip of cloth holding cheese so hard it echoes when dropped. He scrapes the cheese with a knife. He eats the flakes. He hands you a piece. You chew. It cracks, then melts, slightly. He eats without ceremony. No joy, no shame. He finishes his crust, brushes his palms, drinks from a jar hidden beneath the steps. Water, cloudy. He offers it. You drink. It's cold, tastes like iron and ash. He lifts a stone, underneath dried peas. He eats them by the pinch. You do the same. They rattle between your teeth. He crawls into a space under a wooden porch. He pulls out a handful of broken barley grains wrapped in cloth. He eats them one by one. A rat scurries nearby. He throws a pebble. It runs. A cat meows overhead. He finds another crust behind a bucket. He breaks it in half, offers you the bigger piece. You eat. You chew. You swallow. He lies down on a pile of sacks. He wraps his arms around his pouch. He closes his eyes. He breathes. You sit in silence. The air is cool. The alley is still. You chew the last of the crust. You lean your head against the wall. You keep listening. Morning isn't here yet, but night has gone still. No wind, no footsteps, just the slow stretch of silence over stone. You rise from the alley's edge, stepping quietly over the boy's small shelter of sacks and ash. He does not stir. You walk. The path dips into a hollow where old houses lean against each other like sleepers. A door swings open ahead. A woman steps out, holding a lantern. She nods, says nothing, then leaves the door wide behind her. You peer in. A single flame flickers in the back of the cellar. The air is thick, heavy, still. You step inside. The walls are stone damp with cold. A low table stands in the middle. Jars rest on shelves, tall, narrow, wrapped in wax. Wooden crates line the back. Barrels sit in corners, lids, half-off cloths draped across their mouths. The scent is strong. Sour milk, cured meat, fermented root. You step closer. You reach for a jar. Wipe the top. Inside, pale onions bob in cloudy liquid. You open it. The smell hits. You blink. You close it again. You lift a lid on a wide clay bowl. Preserved cabbage floats in brine with flecks of pepper and something green. You use a wooden spoon. You taste. It crunches. Sour, sharp, tangy. It lingers. You open another jar fermented turnips, chopped, packed in thick paste. You try a sliver. It's soft, then spicy, then bitter. You chew. You swallow. A crate nearby holds smoked meat. Strips of gray-brown flesh curled like bark. You break a piece. It snaps. You chew. It tastes like ash and salt and nothing else. Beside it, a jar sealed in cloth. Inside, sour cream. Thick. Pocked with air. You dip a finger. Taste. It's sharp, like vinegar mixed with butter. You wipe your hand on your sleeve. A shelf holds dried roots, parsnip, radish, carrot. Thin. Shrunk. You chew one. It's woody, but sweet. You open a cloth wrap. Inside, hard cheese wrapped in bark. The rind cracks. You break a piece. It crumbles. You eat, dry, gritty, faintly sour. You lift a small lid. A pool of honey thickened by cold. A spoon sits in it. You take a bit. It sticks to your teeth. It coats your throat. It's the richest thing you've tasted in hours. A stack of dried oatcakes lies under a board. You crack one. It splinters. You chew. It turns to dust. You dip another in the honey. It softens. You eat. A tall jar holds what might be dried plums. You try one. It's leathery, then sweet, then bitter. You finish it. Historians still argue whether medieval pantries were truly prepared for winter or simply braced for it. Inventories list salted meat, stored grain, sour whey, and hard root. Whether these stores lasted was another matter. You lift a barrel lid. Inside, salted fish. You take one. It bends. You smell it. You try a bite. It's dry, then chewy, then overwhelmingly salty. You drink from a nearby bowl of rainwater. You cough once. Another shelf holds jars of rendered fat. Some hard, some liquid. One with a floating scrap of meat. You skim a bit. Taste. It coats your mouth in silence. A bundle of dried herbs hangs from a rafter. Sage. Bay. Thyme. You rub one leaf. The scent releases. You crush it in your hand. You sprinkle it onto your oatcake. You eat. You find a wrapped jar with dried fruit leather, flattened apples, and plum paste. You chew a strip. It sticks, but it tastes like memory. You open a small chest. Inside, garlic. A tangle of bulbs. Some sprouted. You pull one. You eat a raw clove. It burns. You drink more water. You light another lamp. The flame flickers on the low ceiling. The pantry shrinks around it. You find an old loaf, blackened, hard. You break it against the table. You soak it in whey. You wait. Then eat. Another crate. Grain, barley, rye. You chew a handful. Hard, bitter. You grind it with your teeth. In the corner, a bowl of dried peas. You toast a few over a lamp. They crackle. You eat them warm. A final shelf holds jars with meat sealed in fat. You dig a piece out. You chew. It gives way slowly. The fat coats your lips. You don't mind. You sit on a barrel. The flame flickers. The air thickens. You chew a piece of salted root. You drink sour whey. You finish a crust. You close your eyes. The cellar hums quietly. You swallow. You keep chewing. You climb the steps out of the cellar. The wooden planks groan beneath your feet. The door closes behind you without a latch. You step into the street again. The sky overhead is iron gray and the wind is still. The air feels close, almost waiting. You keep walking. The stones underfoot are damp with evening mist. The smells shift, earthy, charred, metallic. You pass shuttered windows, a broken lantern, a row of empty buckets. You reach a crooked bench pressed against the wall of a small chapel. You sit. A cart creaks into view from around the corner, pulled slowly by a donkey with a bent leg. A man walks beside it, wrapped in layers of wool and dust. The cart bed holds flat cakes, some covered in cloth, others stacked exposed to the chill. He stops beside you. Last of the day, he says. You nod. He offers you one. It's round, thin, the color of old stone. You break it. Steam drifts up faint and fast. You bite. The crust is dry, the center dense. The flavor, oat salt, and a faint trace of sour herb. It softens in your mouth the longer you chew. You eat another piece. He hands you a second cake, this one dusted with ash. You bite carefully. The ash is bitter. The dough is thicker. You chew longer. A bell tolls in the distance. Slow, measured. Once, then again. The man doesn't speak. He gives you a third cake. Smaller, wrapped in paper. You unwrap it slowly. Inside, barley and rosemary pressed flat and baked hard. You bite. It cracks. You chew. The taste is dry and comforting. You look down the street. Candles flicker in windows. No voices. No movement. Only stillness. Historians still argue whether oatcakes were ceremonial or everyday food. Some claim they were eaten only during certain fasts or festivals. Others insist they were simply portable, durable, and endlessly recycled. Either way, they filled stomachs and silenced hunger. You finish the third cake. The man places a bundle beside you. For morning, he says. You nod. He walks on. You open the bundle. Inside one small loaf, slightly burnt. 2 oat cakes. A sprig of dried thyme. A piece of cheese hardened to stone. You eat the cheese first. It breaks like chalk. You chew. You swallow. You bite the loaf. The crust is brittle. The crumb is dry. You chew anyway. You sip from a clay mug left on the bench. It's cool, tastes of grain water and something green. You break the oatcakes slowly, one piece at a time. You chew each bite. You don't rush. You close your eyes. The wind picks up just once, just enough to rustle your sleeves. A crow cries, then silence. You lean back against the wall. The stone is cold. Your feet ache. Your mouth is dry. But you're full. You finish the last oatcake. You brush crumbs from your lap. You breathe. You keep chewing. The streets are still now. Lamps have gone dark. Fires have burned low. Bread is eaten. Stew has cooled. The games are over. The vendor's gone. The last cakes sold. You sit alone beneath a wooden eave wrapped in the grayness of night and the weight of everything you've tasted. The sounds are gone. The smells have faded. Only your breath remains. Slow, measured, even. The walls around you lean like sleeping giants. The stones at your feet hold the warmth of steps long past. The sky stretches above silent and wide. No stars, no moon. Just soft darkness. You shift once, then still. The loaf you saved for morning rests on your knee. You touch it once, then let it be. You feel the last bit of crust in your teeth, the last breath of smoke in your hair, the final sweetness of boiled honey faint on your tongue. You are not hungry now, not tired either. Just still. The wind returns. It moves through the alleys, brushing your cheek, your fingers, your thoughts. Nothing speaks. Nothing stirs. Not even the dogs. You close your eyes. You see the pies, the cakes, the roots, the fish, the blood, the bread. You chew once more without food. You breathe in. You breathe out. The night holds you now, and you do not let go.